There is a difference between helping family and being taken advantage of. I learned that lesson the hard way when I opened my home to my brother Danny, his wife Brenda, and their 3 kids. All I asked for was one simple rule: keep the house clean. That was it. Nothing complicated, nothing unreasonable. Just basic respect for the space I was sharing with them. But what I discovered in every single bathroom of my home went beyond mess. It was a biohazard situation that I could never have imagined. And now, after I finally stood up for myself and asked them to leave, my entire family is demanding that I apologize. Before we dive into how a simple act of kindness turned into my worst nightmare, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will show you exactly why setting boundaries with family is not just important, it is essential. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. I have always been proud of what I built for myself. At 32 years old, I work as a software engineer for a tech company in Portland, and about a year ago, I finally saved enough to buy my first house. It is a 4-bedroom place in the suburbs of Oregon, nothing fancy, but it has a big backyard, hardwood floors, and enough space that I never felt cramped. I spent months picking out furniture, painting the walls, making it feel like mine. Every corner of that house represented years of hard work and sacrifice. Danny is my older brother by 6 years. Growing up, he was my hero. When I was getting bullied in middle school, he was the one who stood up for me. When I was learning to drive, he spent countless weekends in parking lots teaching me how to parallel park. He helped me move into my first apartment after college. We had that kind of bond where you just knew you could count on each other, no questions asked. So when his name flashed on my phone at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, I answered immediately. His voice sounded strained, tired in a way I had never heard before. He told me his company had gone under without warning. One day, he had a steady job as a warehouse supervisor. The next day, he was walking out with a cardboard box and no severance package. Brenda was working part-time at a hair salon, but her income barely covered groceries for their family of 5. They had 3 kids. Kylie was 11, Mason was 8, and Harper had just turned 5. The landlord had already given them notice. 2 weeks to vacate their apartment. Danny's voice cracked when he mentioned having to pull the kids out of their school, possibly moving them into a motel until they figured something out. I did not hesitate. Our parents had retired to Florida a few years back, living on a fixed income. They could not help, and I knew Danny was too proud to ask them anyway. I told him to pack up and come stay with me. I had the space. They could have the entire upstairs 3 bedrooms for them and the kids plus the bathroom up there. It seemed like the obvious choice. Family helps family. That is what we do. The only thing I asked, the only rule I set was simple: keep the house clean. I am not a neat freak by any means, but I value having a tidy space. I work from home 3 days a week, and I needed my environment to feel organized and peaceful. Danny laughed with relief when I said it. "You will not even know we are here, man. I promise." Those were his exact words. I spent the weekend before they arrived getting everything ready. I cleared out the upstairs bedrooms, moved some of my storage boxes to the garage, bought new sheets and towels. I even picked up some toys for the kids and stocked the pantry with snacks I knew they liked. When they pulled up in their minivan that Sunday afternoon, I felt good about what I was doing. The kids tumbled out excited about the new house, running around the backyard. Brenda looked exhausted but grateful, giving me a quick hug and thanking me repeatedly. Danny clapped me on the shoulder, that old brotherly gesture that meant more than words. That first evening felt warm and hopeful. We ordered pizza, let the kids pick a movie, and sat together in my living room like a real family unit. Kylie chattered about her new school, Mason showed me a drawing he had made, and Harper fell asleep on the couch halfway through the film. I remember thinking this was going to work out just fine. They needed help, I had the space, and we would get through this together. In a few months, Danny would find steady work, they would save up, and they would move into their own place again. Everything would return to normal. I had no idea what was coming. The first 3 days went smoothly enough. Everyone was on their best behavior, settling and finding their routines. But on the fourth morning, as I was getting ready for work, I walked into the shared bathroom on the main floor and stopped short. The sink was completely clogged with long strands of dark hair. Water had pooled around the basin, leaving the counter damp and grimy. I stood there for a moment, staring at it, telling myself it was just an accident. People forget sometimes. No big deal. I cleaned it up myself, fishing out the hair with a paper towel, wiping down the counter. I did not want to make a fuss over something small. But 2 days later, I went to use the same bathroom and found that the toilet had not been flushed. There were streaks inside the bowl, and the smell hit me as soon as I opened the door. My stomach turned. I flushed it myself, scrubbed it down with cleaner, and decided I needed to say something. I found Brenda in the kitchen, making lunch for the kids. I kept my tone light casual, just mentioning that we should all remember to keep the bathrooms tidy. She looked mortified, apologizing profusely, explaining that the kids were still adjusting to the new space and sometimes forgot. I understood. Kids are kids. I told her it was fine, just something to keep an eye on. She promised she would talk to them. But the following week, the problems did not stop. In fact, they got worse. Every morning when I woke up, the bathroom was a mess. The floor was always wet, like no one bothered to dry off before stepping out of the shower. Damp towels were left in piles on the floor instead of hung up. I started having to clean up before I could even brush my teeth. It was frustrating, but I tried to be patient. They were going through a hard time. I did not want to add stress. One evening, I pulled Danny aside after dinner. I kept it friendly, just mentioning that we needed to keep the bathrooms a bit cleaner. He nodded, but I could see a flicker of defensiveness in his eyes. We are doing our best, Gilbert. It is tough with 3 kids. I felt a pang of guilt for even bringing it up. Maybe I was being too picky. Maybe I needed to cut them some slack. By the 3rd week, I could not ignore it anymore. I walked into the shared bathroom one afternoon and froze. There were used feminine hygiene products in the trash can, but the can did not have a liner. The products had been sitting there long enough that I could see stains seeping onto the plastic. The smell was overwhelming, a mix of old blood and something sour. I felt my stomach lurch. I immediately went to the store, bought trash bags, and left a whole box of them in the bathroom with a note asking everyone to please use liners. The next day, I noticed one of my good white towels, the ones I had just bought a few months earlier, had been used and left on the bathroom floor. When I picked it up, I saw dark red stains across the fabric. Blood stains. My hands shook as I held it. This was not just carelessness. This was a complete lack of respect for my home and my things. I threw the towel away. There was no saving it. I decided I had to talk to Brenda directly. I found her folding laundry in the upstairs hallway. I explained as calmly as I could that I needed everyone to be more mindful about hygiene in the bathrooms. She looked at me with tired eyes and nodded. I am so sorry, Gilbert. I have been so stressed with job hunting and taking care of the kids. I will do better. I wanted to believe her. I wanted this to be the turning point. It was not. A month passed, and nothing changed. If anything, the situation deteriorated. The upstairs bathroom, the one the kids were supposed to use, became a disaster zone. Toothpaste was smeared across the mirror in thick globs. The toilet seat had urine splashes that no one bothered to wipe up. The bathtub had a ring of grime so thick I could see it from the doorway. I found myself cleaning that bathroom every few days just so it would not smell. But what really got to me was my own bathroom. The master bedroom has an attached bathroom, my private space, the one place I thought would remain untouched. I started noticing that someone had been using it. Brenda, I assumed. There were bottles of shampoo I did not recognize on the shower ledge. A disposable razor that was not mine sat on the sink. Empty containers that should have been thrown out cluttered the counter. I never gave anyone permission to use my bathroom, but clearly boundaries meant nothing here. Danny had started a new job by then, working as a delivery driver for a logistics company. The pay was not great, but it was something. He mentioned they were looking for apartments, but rent in the area was high, and they needed time to save for a deposit. I told myself to hang in there, just a little longer. But every day, walking into those bathrooms, seeing the neglect, feeling the disrespect, I felt my patience wearing thinner and thinner. I was losing sleep. I would lie awake at night, listening to footsteps above me, toilets flushing, showers running, and I would dread what I would find in the morning. My home, the place I had worked so hard to create, was starting to feel like a burden. And the worst part was knowing that my own family was the cause of it. It all came to a head on a Saturday morning in early November. I had gone to the gym at 6 in the morning, one of the few things that still brought me peace. I got back around 7:30, expecting the house to still be quiet. Most of the family usually slept in on weekends. I planned to take a quick shower in my bathroom, get cleaned up, and maybe make breakfast. As I walked down the hallway toward my bedroom, I smelled something off. It was faint at first, but as I got closer to my bathroom, it became stronger, a nauseating mix of waste and something metallic. My stomach dropped. I pushed open the bathroom door, which had been left slightly ajar, and the smell hit me like a physical wall. I stood in the doorway, unable to move, unable to process what I was seeing. The toilet had not been flushed. There was feces in the bowl, along with wads of soiled toilet paper piled so high they were nearly overflowing. The toilet seat had dark red bloodstains smeared across it, like someone had not even bothered to check before walking away. In the small wastebasket next to the toilet, which I kept for tissues and cotton swabs, there were used sanitary pads. Multiple pads, no bag, no liner, just sitting there in the open blood, dried on the edges, some of it having leaked onto the floor. I backed out of the bathroom, my hand over my mouth, trying not to gag. This was not just mess. This was a biohazard. This was a health risk. My mind raced. How long had it been like this? Who had used my bathroom and left it in this state? And why? Why would anyone think this was acceptable? I forced myself to go back in, holding my breath, and look around more carefully. The shower curtain had dark spots of mold growing along the bottom edge. The bathroom floor had sticky spots near the toilet stains I did not want to identify. The sink had grime caked around the faucet. This was not a one-time thing. This was weeks, maybe even a month of complete neglect. I needed to see the other bathrooms. I needed to know if this was isolated or if my entire house had been turned into this. I walked downstairs to the shared bathroom on the main level, the one everyone was supposed to use. I opened the door and felt my heart sink further. The toilet was stained brown inside the bowl. The wastebasket was overflowing with trash, including more used sanitary products with no liner. The smell was just as bad. The floor around the toilet had yellowish stains, and I realized with disgust that urine had been splashing onto the tile and no one had cleaned it. I climbed the stairs to the upstairs bathroom, the one meant for the kids. I was almost afraid to look. When I opened the door, I had to steady myself against the door frame. Urine stains streaked the wall next to the toilet. The bathtub had a thick ring of soap scum and grime, and the drain was clogged with a clump of hair the size of a tennis ball. The mirror was covered in dried toothpaste splatters, and the smell of ammonia was so strong it burned my nostrils. Every single bathroom in my house was in this condition. Every single one. This was not an accident. This was not kids being forgetful. This was a pattern of complete disregard for basic hygiene and respect. I walked back downstairs, my hands shaking my chest tight with anger and disbelief. Danny and Brenda were in the kitchen, making coffee, talking in low voices. The kids were still asleep. I stood in the doorway and cleared my throat. They both turned to look at me. "We need to talk, right now." I took them through the house, showing them each bathroom one by one. I did not say much. I just opened doors and let them see. Brenda's face went pale. Danny looked uncomfortable but tried to play it off. "Gilbert, come on, it is not that bad. We will clean it up." Not that bad. I could hear my voice rising, something I rarely let happen. "Danny, this is a biohazard. This is unacceptable. I asked for one thing. One thing. Keep the house clean, and every single bathroom in my home looks like this." Brenda's eyes filled with tears. "I have been sick, Gilbert. The kids are just kids. You do not understand how hard it is to manage everything." I took a breath, trying to stay calm. I have been patient. I have been understanding. But this has been going on for a month. I have cleaned up after you over and over. I have replaced towels, bought trash bags, left reminders, and nothing has changed. Danny stepped forward, his jaw tight. "So, what are you saying?" "I am saying you have until tomorrow evening to deep clean every single bathroom in this house. Every stain, every spot, every surface. If I come home tomorrow night and these bathrooms are not spotless, you need to find somewhere else to go." Brenda started crying harder. "Where are we supposed to go? The kids are in school here. We are trying, Gilbert. Then try harder." I pointed to the bathroom behind me. "This is my home. I worked for years to afford it, and I will not let it be destroyed because you cannot follow basic hygiene. You are family, Danny, and that is exactly why I trusted you. This is how you repay that trust." Danny's face flushed red. "After everything I did for you growing up, helping you with bullies, teaching you to drive, being there when you needed me, this is how you treat me now." I felt a lump in my throat, but I pushed it down. "I am grateful for what you did. I will always be grateful. But that does not give you the right to destroy my home. You have until tomorrow evening." I walked out of the kitchen, went to my bedroom, and closed the door. I could hear Brenda sobbing, Danny's low voice trying to calm her, the sound of footsteps on the stairs. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, feeling like I might be sick. The next day, Sunday, I left the house early and stayed out most of the day. I did not want to watch them clean. I did not want another confrontation. I just wanted to give them space to do what they should have been doing all along. When I came home that evening around 6, I went straight to the bathrooms. The toilet in my master bath had been flushed, and someone had wiped down the seat. But the stains were still there, just fainter. The wastebasket had been emptied, but there was still no liner in it. The mold on the shower curtain had not been touched. Downstairs, the shared bathroom was slightly better. The toilet was clean, but the floor still had sticky spots. Upstairs, the kids' bathroom looked like someone had run a wet cloth over things. But the grime in the tub was still there, and the urine stains on the wall remained. They had done the bare minimum, just enough to say they tried, but not enough to actually fix the problem. It was clear to me then that they did not take this seriously. They did not respect me or my home, and I knew I had to follow through. I called Danny and Brenda into the living room that evening. The kids were upstairs watching television, unaware of what was happening. I kept my voice steady, even though my heart was pounding. I gave you a chance. You did not take it seriously. You need to leave by the end of this week. Brenda's face crumpled. Gilbert, please? Where are we supposed to go? The kids are settled in school. We are barely scraping by. You cannot do this. I can, and I am. This is my home. I have every right to decide who lives here, and I have given you more than enough time and chances to respect that. Danny stood up, his face red with anger. You are really going to kick us out? Your own brother? After one little mistake? One little mistake. Danny, this has been going on for over a month. This is not a mistake. This is a pattern, and I am done. He stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head. Fine. We will be gone by Friday. But do not expect me to forget this, Gilbert. Do not expect me to come running next time you need something. I nodded, my throat tight. That is fair. They spent the next few days packing in silence. The kids seemed confused, asking why they had to leave, but Brenda just told them it was time to find their own place again. I helped where I could, carrying boxes, offering to cover part of their moving costs, but they refused. Danny barely looked at me. On Thursday evening, the day before they were set to leave, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was shaking somewhere between anger and tears. Gilbert, how could you kick your brother and his babies out onto the street? I closed my eyes, already knowing where this was going. Mom, did Danny tell you what actually happened? He told me you kicked them out over some cleaning issues, that you could not handle having kids in your house. Gilbert, they are family. They are going through the hardest time of their lives, and you are making it worse. I tried to explain. I told her about the biohazards, about the month of trying to get them to respect my space, about the stains and the neglect. She listened, but I could tell she was not really hearing me. She kept circling back to the same point. They are family. You should be more understanding. You should help them, not punish them. I am helping them, Mom. I gave them a place to stay. I fed them. I asked for one basic rule, and they could not follow it. I have a right to protect my home. She sighed heavily. Your father and I are very disappointed in you, and so is the rest of the family. Over the next few days, my phone blew up. Text messages from cousins, aunts, uncles, some of whom I had not heard from in years. They all had the same tone. How could you do this? Family is supposed to stick together. You are being selfish. Some of the messages were harsher. One cousin called me heartless. Another said I had forgotten where I came from, that I was too proud now that I had money and a house. I felt like I was drowning in judgment. Danny had clearly told his version of the story, painting me as the villain, and no one was interested in hearing my side. Brenda posted something vague on Facebook about how hard it is when family turns their back on you, and the comments poured in with sympathy for her. I saw my name mentioned, not directly, but clearly implied. People I barely knew were discussing my character, my values, my heart. It would have been easy to post the pictures I had taken of the bathrooms, to show everyone the truth, the stains, the filth, the biohazards. But I did not. That felt like crossing a line. I was not interested in humiliating them publicly. I just wanted them out of my house so I could reclaim my space and my peace. On Friday afternoon, they loaded the last of their boxes into the minivan. Brenda did not say goodbye. She just buckled the kids into their seats and got in the passenger side. Danny stood by the driver's door for a moment, looking back at the house. For a second, I thought he might say something, maybe even apologize, but he just shook his head and got in the van. They drove away, and I stood in the driveway watching until they turned the corner. The house felt eerily quiet after they left. I walked through each room, taking in the silence, the emptiness. And then I went to the bathrooms. Even after they had cleaned them somewhat, the damage was done. The stains had set in, the smell lingered. I knew I could not fix this on my own. I called a professional cleaning service the next morning. I explained the situation, the biohazards, the need for deep sanitization. The woman on the phone did not sound surprised. She said they dealt with situations like this more often than people realized. They came out on Monday, a team of 3 people in protective gloves and masks, armed with industrial cleaners and scrub brushes. They worked for 6 hours, scrubbing every surface, disinfecting, deodorizing. When they were done, they handed me a bill for $540. I paid it without hesitation. It was worth every penny to have my home back. But even after the professional cleaning, I had to replace things. The toilet seats in 2 of the bathrooms were too stained to save. The shower curtain in my master bath had to be thrown out. The wastebaskets, all of them, went into the trash. I bought new towels, new bath mats, new everything. It took another 2 weeks before the smell finally faded completely, before the house started to feel like mine again. During those weeks, I did not hear from Danny. My mother called once more, trying to convince me to apologize to make things right. I told her I loved her, but I was not going to apologize for protecting my home. She sighed and said she hoped I would reconsider. I did not. It was around 3 months later that I ran into an old mutual friend of ours at a coffee shop. We got to talking, and he mentioned Danny. I asked how they were doing, and he hesitated before answering. You know, Gilbert, I probably should not say this, but their old apartment was a disaster too. That is part of why the landlord kicked them out. It was not just the money. I stared at him, processing what he had just said. What do you mean? He looked uncomfortable. I helped them move out of that place. The landlord was furious. There were stains on the carpets, the bathroom was wrecked. They had let things get really bad. The landlord threatened to sue them for damages. That is why they had to leave so fast. It was not just about losing the job. I felt a cold wave wash over me. Danny had lied to me. He had made it sound like they were victims of bad luck, of financial hardship, when in reality, they had been evicted partly because they could not keep their living space clean. He knew they had this problem, and he brought them into my home anyway, knowing what would likely happen. I felt betrayed all over again, but I also felt something else. Validation. I had made the right choice. Sitting here now, months after everything happened, I can finally say I have no regrets. My relationship with Danny is still strained. We exchanged a few text messages around the holidays. He sent me a brief apology saying he understood why I had been upset that things had gotten out of hand. It was not a full apology, not the kind that acknowledged the real damage they caused, but it was something. I responded politely, wished him and his family well, and left it at that. We are not close anymore, and maybe we never will be again. That hurts, but I have made peace with it. The rest of the family has slowly backed off. A few people reached out privately to say they understood my side after hearing more details. Others still think I was too harsh, that I should have been more forgiving. I have learned to let that go. You cannot control what people think of you, especially when they are only hearing one version of the story. What I learned from all of this is that family does not mean you have to sacrifice your peace, your home, or your mental health. Helping others is important. It is something I will always believe in, but it has to come with boundaries. Without boundaries, help becomes enabling. Without boundaries, kindness becomes self-destruction. There were moments late at night during those first few weeks after they left when I questioned myself. Should I have given them one more chance? Should I have been more patient? Should I have tried harder to make it work? But every time I thought about the state of those bathrooms, about the month of disrespect and neglect, I knew the answer. No, I had done more than enough. I had given them a home, asked for one simple rule, and they could not respect it. That was on them, not on me. Real love, I have come to understand, sometimes means saying no. It means protecting yourself even when others call you selfish. It means standing firm in your boundaries even when the people you care about accuse you of being heartless. Because at the end of the day, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help anyone if you are drowning yourself. Danny and his family found an apartment about 20 miles away. Brenda got a full-time position at a different salon. The kids adjusted to their new school. Life went on for them, and life went on for me. I heard through the grapevine that their new place is small, a 2-bedroom where the kids have to share a room, but they are managing. Part of me is glad they are okay. Part of me wishes things had turned out differently. But I do not wish I had handled it differently. My home is mine again. I can walk into any bathroom without feeling my stomach turn. I can invite friends over without being embarrassed. I can breathe in my own space without stress tightening my chest. That peace, that sense of safety and comfort in my own home is worth more than any family member's approval. So when people tell me I should have been more forgiving, that I should have given them another chance, that family is supposed to stick together no matter what, I just smile. I smile because I know the truth. I know what I lived through. I know the pictures I took, the bills I paid, the sleepless nights I endured. And I know that choosing myself, choosing my home, choosing my boundaries was not selfish, it was necessary. Kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is a trap. It is a slow erosion of your own well-being, your own dignity, your own space. And I chose not to fall into that trap. I chose to protect the home I worked so hard to build, not just the walls and the floors and the bathrooms, but the peace within it. And I would make the same choice again every single time. So here is my question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between helping family and protecting your own peace? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss more real-life stories like this one. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to set boundaries, even with the people you love. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your home, your peace, and your well-being matter. You deserve to protect them. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply say no.